I forgot about this envelope. This envelope contains the winner of the Best Supporting Actor Award, Eric Rodmyre.
Amazing. I never, seriously, thank you so much. I'd like to thank my family. Without them, this award is really theirs. We started back in 2011. Our oldest son, Lucas, came here. We didn't think this day would ever arrive, and here it is. We have our last child here. We did it. I'd like to thank the producer, Mr. Raymond. He comes from the line of strong producers here at Every. Just since our kids have been here, we've had Pastor Siles, Mr. Klug, and Mr. Habeck. Thank you for keeping the school pointed in the great direction that it is. Their leadership is greatly valued. I'd like to thank the director, Mrs. Washing. The musical score she has written for so many concerts has been enjoyed by many. She has taken 3 of my boys and taught them 4 different instruments, got my kids to sing solos and duets. Pretty amazing stuff. And I'd like to thank the cast and crew, including the foreign language advisor, Josh Wedlock, who took my kid to a different country and got her back safely. The English advisor, Mrs. Wilcox, took my daughter, who doesn't even care to read, and she got her to join English, honors English class. Well done. And thank you to the mathematician on set, Mrs. Storm, who got my kids to be excited about filling up one sheet of paper with one math problem. What a bunch of nerds. Okay, 30 years ago, I used to laugh at nerds and think they were nerdy. Now, nerds are like the gold standard. I love nerds. Nerds are so amazing. My kids are nerds. Thank you also to the athletic trainers here. Ms. Meir, Mr. Golander, Mr. Denny, and all the others who volunteered. Thanks for pushing our kids and fueling their love of sports. Thank you also for getting them to grow as team players and to know it's not whether you win or lose, but it's how you play the game. So honestly, our lives are like movies, aren't they? A little bit, except without camera scripts or $1 million budgets. And high school is just one little scene of that movie, but it's a pretty big one. It's where you start as a freshman, as a little child, and you graduate as a senior, as someone ready to enter the workforce, join the military, go to college. So Evergreen holds a pretty important spot in the development of children into adults. For those who might not know me, my name is Eric Rodmyre. My wife and I have 5 kids, the last of who is a senior right now at Evergreen, Hannah, and she will be hopefully graduating in a couple months. Unless things take a huge nosedive for her, and she has to repeat a year. She'll probably graduate. 2 years before Hannah, our son Levi graduated here. 2 years before that, it was Caitlin. 2 years before that, it was our son Sam. And 2 years before that was our oldest Lucas. Someone has asked me, do you believe in family planning? And I'm like, yeah, we plan to have a family. And God made it happen perfectly. So, as well as my 5 kids, I come from 5 children who also attended here at Evergreen. Myself, 3 brothers, and my one sister. So, if we belong to a golf club, we would probably be called legacy members. And I feel that we're the Rodmyre kind of legacy members here at Evergreen. There are a number of families that are legacy members along with us. And if you are not, if you are brand new to Evergreen, if you've only known Evergreen in this building, thank you for being here. We love you. You are the next legacy members, hopefully the future legacy members. When I have this suit on, I have two thoughts in my mind. Either James Bond or David Letterman. And it just so happens that I have the list from the Home Office in Sioux City, Iowa. The top 10 reasons why Evergreen Lutheran High School is the best high school in the state of Washington. Number 10, mac and meat brisket nachos. Number 9, just look at our bus drivers. Number 8, our campus is the perfect size for a 9-hole frisbee golf course. It has not happened yet, but mark my words, it will, and you are all invited. Number 7, how many other schools have coyotes running around during classes? Probably a few, but we do. Number 6, nerdy teachers. Well-known teachers, you know who you are. Number 5, nothing says love like goose poop in the parking lot, on the sidewalks, in the grass, everywhere. Number 4, Mary, did you know? Sung in every style possible. Number 3, it doesn't matter which county you live in, Cape Pierce or Kitsap, if there's snowflakes in one county, everybody gets a snow day. Number 2, sometimes you want to go singing where everybody knows your name. And number 1 reason Evergreen is the number 1 school in Washington, 18 stalls, ladies. No waiting. So, I can end my speech right there, or I can keep going for a little while longer. This is audience participation time. Should we end the speech, or should I go for like a little while longer?
More.
It's a little, I'll read fast, but I'm telling you, it's a little bit. Okay, I'm going to share a brief, my view of the history of Evergreen Lutheran since its inception to now, all right? This also somewhat correlates to my family history, so it's super fun for me. All right, here we go. Back in the late 1970s, I was a 5-year-old child in Wisconsin. I was starting kindergarten, but my future in-laws, my wife's mother and father, Nate and Lolly Radical, were out here in Young, Washington, raising their 2 daughters. My future father-in-law is looking around the landscape and, oh shoot, I forgot to tell you one thing about this history. It may or may not include some quotes from famous movies, since we're in the movie theme. If you hear a quote, feel free to shout out what movie that was from. So my father-in-law is out here looking around. His girls are in elementary school, and he sees that there is no Lutheran high school for them to go to. Inconceivable, he says.
With pride.
Oh, that's from a movie. His wife says, you keep using that word, but I'm not using it. But it was inconceivable to Nate Radical that there was no Lutheran high school here. He grew up in Wisconsin, where Lutheran high schools are like bars. 5 minutes to pass a Lutheran high school. So, a 12 men and ladies gathered together to start planning out how to get a high school started. They needed teachers and a principal. They voted to call the first principal, Wayne Baxton, and one of the men said, "I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse."
Godfather.
Really? I didn't know that. I don't know what the offer was, but Wayne accepted the offer and moved out here and started this little baby school in a big rented building in DuPont. If you can picture the DuPont exit, there are now 2 Hampton inns right where the school used to be. There's a Subway and there's a Starbucks behind it, which is pretty much right where the old boys' dormitory was. It was a huge white building that we rented from a warehouser, I believe. And the school was there for about 10 years. Show of hands from the room. How many people in this room were in that building at one point?
One time. One time.
There were students in that building.
Oh.
Just 2 of them? 3 of them. Yes, 3 people. Very nice. So they were there for 10 years. Evergreen was in that building for 10 years. About the 10-year mark, my family moved from Wisconsin to Washington. I was in 8th grade, and my dad was going to be the new principal at Holy Trinity in Kent. Jen's dad, one of the planners of Evergreen High School, was then the principal at a little school in Yelm, a Redeemer in Yelm. That summer, before I started 8th grade, the Radicals had a gathering for teachers and teachers and principals. And so, one weekend, my family drove to the Radicals' house and had a picnic with a whole bunch of other people. What I remember from this first time ever seeing my future wife and father-in-law was that my dad and Jen's dad actually challenged each other to a ping pong game. I don't remember who won, but when it was finished, my dad says, "Luis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful relationship." I thought it was kind of weird that he called it Luis. His name is Nathan, but whatever. So then after that, I laid my eyes on your wife for the first time. Now, I was 12 years old. I don't really remember much about her. But what I do remember is that she had 2 horses. And she was going to saddle them up and we were going to get to ride them. That was a super cool thing for me because the only horse I ever ridden was one at the county fair that just walks in that circle. So I go up to Jen to introduce myself because I'm hoping to ride one of the horses. I said, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya."
Princess Bride.
Of course, I did not say that, but how do you give a speech without including the greatest line ever said in the movie? She says, "I am Jen. Say hello to my little friend." And she introduces me to her horse, Chester.
Scarface.
But I was not going to ride Chester. That was Jen's horse. I was going to give it to ride Jewel, the old, gentle, retired horse. I know horses cannot talk, but I promise you that as I got in to climb into the saddle of Jewel, she turned her head sideways, looked at me, and said, "You've got to ask yourself one question. Do you feel lucky?" "Well, do you?"
Oh, you're Harry.
I totally heard that horse say this. It's like I had ESPN or something. Well, Jen unties Jewel from the fence, opens the gate out of the little holding area, and Jewel goes from 0 to 88 miles per hour, like that, and goes burning across this field, down a hill, where there's a wire fence. She's going nonstop, dead at the fence. Jen gave me instructions. She's like, you know how to steer this thing, right? You pull these left, go left, right, go right, pull back to stop. We're flying toward this fence. I'm doing everything, every direction. Jill does not care. She's going straight at it until we're like 10 feet away. She hits the brakes and slides in sideways to the fence. I get off Jewel, and she looks at me and she's like, "You don't put baby in a corner." I walked Jewel back up to the pen. 20 other kids rode Jewel that day. She was the calmest, sweetest horse there ever was.
Did you say calmest, meanest horse ever was? Sweetest.
What does that have to do with ELHS? I don't know. I just thought it was a fun story. Later that same year, Evergreen was told that its lease on the DuPont property, where it's been for 10 years, was not going to be renewed for the next year. So we had to figure out, where are we going? 2 camps emerged. My wife's dad's idea, let's put it in Yelm. In this school we have here, we have a school for it, classrooms, and extra land that we can build more. And then my dad's version, bring it up to Kent. We don't have a school for it. There's a little bit of land. So it was one of the few times in their beautiful relationship that they had a disagreement and argued. And Nate was like, "You sit on the throne of lies." But location while Kent was more central, everybody moved to Des Moines. And the parents of all the kids, the 33 kids who lasted that change, held on to one thought: keep this school alive. Teenagers in the Northwest need a gospel-based Christian high school to go to. How important is this high school to us? You could say that it's part of the Rodmyre DNA at this point. And while my family's time here at Evergreen is coming to a close, I've got 8 and almost 9 nieces and nephews that are soon going to start walking these halls. We have been blessed to be a part of the Evergreen family. We have loved watching our kids and yours as they let their lights shine as high schoolers. And looking back at the humble beginnings and sometimes rocky roads that were traveled, we can only praise God for his abundant blessings and know that he is good all the time. Thank you.